Good afternoon. It's Saturday, July the 26th, and this is the first in a mini-series of the activities that are occurring around the state of Texas from private parking lots. Last night in Austin, Texas, Texas Towing Compliance strike teams set up 9 bait vehicles. They were all towed. 2 of them were towed 3 times from the same property. Last week, or week before last, I was at a hearing involving Park Right Solutions of Austin, LLC. According to the Secretary of State, Freddie Jimenez is the officer. Unfortunately, on the state controller's website, under the officers and directors, it shows him as a managing director, with no other people. Of course, we know what's going on over there. When we were in court, and the judge called the victim's case up on the docket, we went up there to sit down, and she motioned for us to go towards the bench. Then while we were sitting up there, the victim, they introduced themselves, and then when he saw me there, he immediately become a little static. And then after the judge swore us in, Freddie Jimenez goes to calling me vulgar, slanderous words in court, intimidates the victim in front of the judge, telling him that he'd settled this, there's no need to do this, and if he goes to the next step, he'll bring in his attorney. Fuck that prick. Now, out in the parking lot, after the court was over, me and the victim was standing out there talking. Well, here comes Freddie. And the victim immediately wanted to go get in his face, want to kick his fucking ass for what he said about me in court. And he didn't appreciate being intimidated by this guy, Freddie Jimenez, who used to manage J&J Towing, who was one of the worst towing companies in Austin, Texas. Then he left over there, went and planted himself as a spy in Kim Smoyer's company up here at Elite Towing. Then he took what he was taught with Kim and all those years of stealing and bribing people and giving them everything underneath the world. Jess and Dan plucked him out to run this new entity. Of course, Freddie told me that he has to pay monthly payments to Dan and Jazz. They sold him the company. With just 2 trucks, I don't see how the hell he can make those payments. But so we know what's going on. But the whole issue is, the reason that company was created, because the Halloween flood wiped him out. That was karma that was coming. And the finance companies for those trucks that he had just had delivered out of Dallas, and they took the keys with them to Las Vegas for a company party. Flood come up and they couldn't move trucks. Over $1 million judgment, and now a seizure order has been issued by the courts for Damascena and Jess Harton's assets. But it didn't do any good because the finance company's investigators already know where that money is. So there you got it. The founding directors of Southwest Tow Operators finally got their ass caught, and they're in a big-time financial bind. They were storing new cars for a local dealership. All those cars got washed away. Some vehicles are valued over $100,000. And that's what happens when you carry minimum limits of garage keepers. You can't cover your losses. So they created Park Right Solutions and moved all their assets over there. They'll get caught. The IRS is going to educate Mr. Messina. But last night, around 2:30, our strike teams were conducting surveillance of Park Right's trucks, and they were towing vehicles out of the streets over there at Royal Palms, a mobile home park at 71 and 183. Sign nowhere near legal. The sign in the front off 71, you can't even see, it's blocked by a bush. Driveway over 100 foot wide. And then the sign over there on the side street, it's blocked by a bush. Still not legal. And they normally towing cars in violation of law. Well, Freddie told me, oh, I'll give you my word, I'm not going to do it. And he's a pathological fucking liar. So that tells you what type of company Park Right Solutions is. But then you got Reliant over there, Mark Schroeder. He's a little punk. He they fix to get their ass tore up because this one comp, we got about 5 properties of his that they've towed off well over 200 cars. Each one of them cars is going to cost him $2,000 each. Not going to cost him. He's going to cost those accounts of his. That's what we're doing now. We're encouraging the tow victims on the small claims court petition to include the name of the property owner, which could be located in the Central Appraisal District's website, and the property management company. You know, you go in there and ask them for a business card, and go to the state controller's website and check the franchise tax status for that management company, which is a corporate entity. And then you can click on the bottom down there, officers and directors, and you can see who the main people are that control that corporate entity. You list them on the petition. That way you got the property owner and you got the management company. And you leave the tow company off the petition. You know, you've already dealt with them in the tow hearing. Of course, I've seen lately, just like when J&J was in Judge Steen's court, Central Parking didn't appear in court. And that question was asked, why didn't he appear? And of course, Frank's little office manager that wears a dress at nighttime kept telling Joe, well, we represent him. If they ain't no fucking attorney, how can he represent a corporate entity? And it was kind of stupid because they posted the damn signs on the side of the Adobe garage. And then there wasn't even a sign on 21st. And that pay box, you got to pay for a certain number of a spot. They're not marked right. It's got to be marked in the front and the rear of the space. And he brings all these photographs, and he gets his knucklehead drivers of his, all greaseball, that towed the vehicle to explain his what he does. Well, the way he explained it, he just admitted he stealing cars. So the victim did a cross-examine and found out that didn't have the 255 document. That's a killer right there. If they don't have if the tow company does not have the 255 document, which is Occupations Code 2308.255, then it don't make a damn what the car was towed for and how many cars. Every one of them are illegally towed, and every one of them is a criminal offense, and every vehicle owner or operator is going to collect 1,000 plus 3 times. And you don't have to prove negligence on behalf of the parking facility or the tow company. Because if you get a tow hearing judgment, the statutory lawsuit in small claims is the sentencing phase of the tow hearing. They're found guilty in the tow hearing, and they're sentenced in the statutory hearing. So it's really a simple process. Well, over at Royal Palms this morning, the park right driver took one of the vehicles off the property. No safety chains, no tow lights. Was driving down the street with no headlights on, and went across the street and dropped that vehicle in the parking lot of that warehouse office complex over at Montauk, over at Riverside and 183. And they were watching him because the bait cars were rigged with cameras and GPS. And the driver had the gall. He had no reason to unlock the car door, but he went inside the truck and was looking through the center console. So I wonder how they're going to explain that. So he gets back out of the vehicle and leaves and goes back over to Royal Palms to get him another one. So as soon as he turned in the property, of course, our Echo team was working there last night. That consists of 5 people. And these are all volunteers who devote they enjoy what they do. And so the driver got back on the property. We parked another bait car down the very end of the property, so he'd never it'd take him at least 5-10 minutes to get back to where he dropped that car. And when he pulled into the property, we went up there and got the car and drove it off, and went back over and parked it back on the property. So when he come out of the property with the other bait vehicle, the one he just towed off down there, it's down there parked in front of another house. And he was a little stunned. He looked, and we were watching him, and it's amazing how he put his safety. He hooked his vehicle and his tow lights, and he went straight to Brant Road. Now, see, Freddie said with his deal with Jess, Les, and Dan, the Three Stooges, is any vehicle south on their accounts that they got parked right when Jess and them had it. Freddie has to tow those cars to Brant Road, and he collects the tow fee. Any vehicles north, they go to North Lamar. I think it's a fucked up deal. If Freddie was sincere about convincing people that they're not involved, he'd have them take his name off their bullshit website. You know, Southwest Tow Operators, they ought to be proud of themselves. They got a tow truck operator and a company listed on their website that killed a baby. Killed a fucking baby. Broke the baby's neck, stomped on its ribs, and broke its legs because it wouldn't quit crying. And TLR want to give this prick a license. HEB said they didn't want to have nothing to do with him anymore, and they canceled his fucking contract. But Fairway Properties, they're a pretty big company. They got properties all over the state of Texas. One of their properties in San Marcos, the Polo Club, they sent Salcedos. That's a family business. They've been in business 57 years in San Marcos, and contributed to a lot to the economy, provided employment for people just because of their reputation. And the manager at the Polo Club sent them a cancellation notice. Said she has drivers that are friends over at Rio's Towing, and she want to help them out some. Of course, the owners of Salem, they was quite pissed because, of course, they blamed me because I wrote that article about HEB choosing a child murderer for a tow company. He lost that account. Well, one of our representatives with Texas Towing Compliance went over and visited with that manager, got her name and her phone number, and I called Fairway's corporate office up here in Austin, talked to the property division manager. It's over the supervisor and that manager, and had a conversation with them to the fact is if that's where their manager is friends with drug addicts that manages an apartment complex for specifically college kids. And of course she didn't know what I was talking about, and after I explained it to her and I gave her a few links to some things to read, and I said, you know, how ethical is it that you would switch from a towing company that's never had a problem, y'all never had a problem with, and go with a company that its owner murdered a baby, went to prison, convicted, and got drug addicts driving his trucks. But and like I told her, I said, your company you're using for your properties in Austin, J&J, all those cars that they've towed, you're liable for. You know, September 1st, and like right here is the sign. This is a legal sign right here. The sign specifically has to say towing enforced. If your car's towed from a parking lot and it doesn't say towing enforced, what you'd probably see a sign like this. Right here where it says towing enforced at all times. This is an illegal sign. I don't care what your car was towed for. If you towed from a parking lot and the tow sign says towing enforced at all times, you're going to collect $1,000 plus 3 times what you paid. And that's every vehicle that's been towed for any reason. Doesn't matter how many times. I've got several victims that have towed 15, 16 times. You're going to collect money from the park facility. In order to kill the snake, you got to cut off the food source, and that you got to put those parking lots on notice. Let them pay $5,000 or $6,000, $10,000 judgments. So remember, can I tow your car off with a tow sign that says towing enforced at all times? The sign specifically has to say towing enforced, residents and tenant parking only. Another problem we're hearing about and I'm getting documents on is the vehicle storage facilities or not providing the name of the person who authorized the tow. Vehicle owners should demand before you leave that storage facility that they provide that information they're required to. And then failing to provide that to you, that's an arrestable offense. Now, trying to get the police to do their job and uphold the law like they're mandated by the legislature to do, that's another story. But that's the reason it's imperative that you use your cell phone to record every conversation when you're at the storage lot. You got to get somebody to stand up there by the release window, put it in your pocket, and record everything that's said. Because what you're going to do is you're going to print on the website, under the toolbar on information, over to the left where it says what to do. You have to follow this protocol if you're going to get your money back. But you've also got to follow through and do the other things that have to be done to stop the predatory towing. One, when you walk up to the release window, they're going to ask you, what vehicle are you here for? The first question that should come out of your mouth is, I want to see your VSF employee license. VSF. They have to show it to you. Because if you get pulled over by a police officer and he asks for your driver's license and you refuse to show it to him, what do you think is going to happen to you? They're going to take your ass to jail for failure to ID. It's the same offense in a vehicle storage facility. And by chance they do show it to you, some of these companies will give you a photostatic copy. That ain't good enough. You want to see the card because there's counterfeit licenses out there. You want to see the card close enough that you can take a picture of it with your phone so you can write down the person's license number, the expiration number, and their name. Because you're going to need that when you file a complaint against them for the way they're going to treat you. Just like it up in Denton, that Texas Impound Record Services, that bitch up there called a federal judge a wetback just because he had a Spanish surname on his driver's license and he was from down in the valley. Then when he makes snide remarks about the man's wife and his daughter. And TDR allows that shit to go on, and it needs to be stopped. So, after you get the license out of the way, you're going to ask for the non-consent tow fee schedule for the tow company to tow your vehicle. This is going to be a white sheet of paper. Let me show you. It'll be like this. Be a white sheet of paper. And then it's going to have all their fees that they charge from the different cities they tow vehicles from. They got to provide that to you. That's the reason you want to record that, so if they don't, you can file that complaint on them. They'll tell you, well, it's right here on the wall. Well, a wall on the side of the wall is not the same definition as a piece of paper. Some will give it to you, but there's a bunch of them out there going to fight you, intimidate you, insult you, antagonize you, demean you. It's just sickening what goes on the public faces, and it's totally uncalled for. So after you get that out of the way, you ask them, why was my vehicle towed? You didn't have a permit. I didn't see no sign that said no permit. It's the space is marked. Oh, really? I didn't see that. That tells you you need to go back out to that parking lot and take a picture of that space with no car in it. And after that, you're going to get them to explain to you the charges. And see, these questions are in the order on the article on storage lot procedures that you want to ask all the way down the list. There are 6 violations they could commit by these questions that they have to answer and they have to provide. And when you get 6 violations on one tow, the penalty matrix of TDR, that employee get a $1,500 fine, and you multiply that times 30 times of the number of people she mistreats out there. That adds up real quick. But TDR, they just give them an extended payment plan, and they can commit more violations and still keep fucking the public. So after you make payment, they're going to ask you to sign their business paperwork. Under no circumstances should you sign any of their business documents. The Texas Department of License and Regulations has specifically told the vehicle storage facilities they cannot refuse to release someone's vehicle because they refuse to sign their paperwork, or they refuse to pay parking fines from a college or a university. The only ones that can put a hold on a vehicle for unpaid fees is law enforcement and municipal courts. So taking advantage of these college students is like Parkwright. Now that's another issue. Parkwright with the UT contract. Robert Jones really had that contract with About Town Towing. And Robert ran into some financial issues, and he sold his company to Kim with Elite Towing. And they rebid the contract because it changed names, and Kim was awarded the contract. Well, our buddies Jess Harton and Les Giuliani went over and cut a deal with Charlie Smith of UT Parking. They took the contract away from Elite and give it to Parkwright without rebidding it. And the reason they switched the contract was Parking and Transportation, Charlie Smith, Bill Powers, he's just as much responsible for allowing this shit to continue and do nothing about it. He was pissed because Elite was releasing cars and students owed $200 or $300 in parking fines from campus parking tickets. Well, none of the parking lots in the campus are legal to tow from because the signs are illegal. Or ticket from when they're just parked in a parking space. You know, if they're blocking the driveway or something like that, yeah, they could tow that, no problem. But just a car parked in a parking space without a permit doesn't give them a right to it unless it's got a legal sign on it. So Jess and them told Charlie, don't worry about it, we'll take care of that. So these motherfuckers are extorting money out of people, refusing to release their cars. They do an influence over at UT. And then when Jess sold the company to Freddie, a different corporate entity, they gave them the contract without rebidding it, without following a state bidding process. It's just totally fucked up that they can get away with that. And according to the contract administrator at UT, Elite Towing is still the tow contract for the University of Texas, but Charlie Smith and UTPB call Parkwright Solutions, which they don't even have a valid contract with. Well, they don't do anything about that. Who knows? You think that'd affect the scholarships over at UT if you had organized crime operating within the UT system, and the university president can't say he don't know, because that's bullshit, because there's been several people questioning him about it. Now, you think that David Carter over at UTTD appreciates having felons show up to pick up people his officers arrest in tow trucks? Hell fucking no. So, the key issue is if the sign says towing enforced at all times, towing enforced 24/7, towing enforced resident parking by permit, in the red background, all in the red background, right at the top of the sign, it can only say towing enforced. Nothing else. And then down at the bottom of the sign, above the phone number, it's got to have the hours and days towing is enforced. Some of the tow companies will put that phrase up here at the top. Some of them will stick it here in the middle. This is not like a puzzle. It's a standard sign, just like a stop sign. You can't put a stop sign at four-way intersections with the word yield on them and write people tickets. Now, state law says they can provide a sign, but it's got to be a legal sign. But they don't, and they take advantage of the public. The public thinks that they're just, oh, well, that's just the way it is. But then again, the sign could be legal that's on the property, but there's other issues that have to be investigated. Like, who put up the sign? That's a real simple question. You want to call that manager, whoever authorized that tow, it's on your receipt. You want to call them with your phone, with a record app, and ask them people a few questions. Did you notify the towing company in writing that your maintenance man installed those signs? They say, no, who did? Towing company. Really? Okay, thanks a lot. She just admitted she didn't provide the 255 document, and she also admitted she accepted something of value. That's 2 violations, and it takes 1 to convict. They go out there and find a maintenance man walk around the apartment complex. Hey, did you put that orange warning sticker on my car? Even though you may not have got one, it's just a question. If he says no, should I take it serious? He'll say yes. Okay, he just confirmed he accepted something of value. So, even if it's a legal signpost, dude, you could still secure a victory because of the kickback that was given between the tow company and the parking facility. So, as I complete the day, this is my first one, and I'm going to try to keep talking about this because I've been diagnosed with stage 3 lung cancer. My health's failing, my doggy's sick. You know, it's just things will get better because the Lord knows they're gonna protect me. But we're gonna go back out tonight with them bait cars. We're gonna sit them down there in Central Parking and see if they tow some more. We already got the last parking up in Dallas on the judgment for $1.3 million for close to 3,000 vehicles they towed because the space number wasn't in the front and the back. And the towing company put up the sign. So you can do the same. You want to protect your rights. If you don't know your rights, you ain't got no rights. You want to subscribe to TexasTowingCompliance.org. It's free. You never know when you're going to come in contact with a tow truck driver. You could be out around the state traveling with your family and broke down. You don't know who to call. You call the tow hotline and we'll send you a tow company that's not going to send a felon or a sex offender to pick you up. Other than that, y'all have a great afternoon. And if you park at it, go out and make you some money. If the sign says towing enforced, go park your car on there. When the record driver's hooking up, go up there and catch you. Hey, don't tow my car. Let me pay you something so you won't tow it. Whatever you paid. Just like the kid in San Marcos paid a $20 drop fee. Judge gave him $1,200. That's pretty easy money. Have a great afternoon.